Ladybug, hide it tonight. Lady G, lie after lie. Every little secret flies. Yeah, back room, I hit the chandelier. Sick Graham was a client for years. Best damn regular, paid in the rear. Same hotel mirror, same old leer. Button up loose when the lights came near. Dark little moles on the back of his rear. Said, wipe that off, you got dirt back here. He laughed and made the whole thing clear. Not dust, not dirt, not stains, not fuzz. Those little marks on my ladybugs. Ladybugs low where the cameras miss. Ladybugs turn to a venom kiss. Lady G grew from a private twist. Now every whisper sounds like this. One little joke, one little line, one little secret, learning to fly. Senator one little name stuck to the night. Now Lady G runs from the light. Ladybug, run from the light. Ladybug, hide it tonight. Lady G, lie after lie. Every little secret flies.
Yeah.
You're asking increasingly more complicated questions. To answer them, you need to be an expert in big numbers, big data, and AI.
Let's go!
Come on, come on, come on!
Due to elevated heart rate, high stress levels, and panic indicators, you're not fit to operate this vehicle.
What? There's this tornado!
Have you tried calming down?
Daryl, it's getting bigger!
Start the truck!
Let's begin a breathing exercise. Inhale. Exhale.
I'm not breathing right now!
Oh, Daryl, do something!
I'm trying!
Analyzing driver condition, I've determined you...
I know what you've determined, but you're wrong!
I am never wrong.
Whose bright idea was this?
Your government's.
Granny, I have a feeling we're not in America anymore.
Uh-oh.
Looks like you're going to have to take over Spirit too, Marco.
You don't have to go to hell. You're in hell. This is hell. This is hell. This is hell.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
Then strangled them, and finally dismembered their bodies.
Great.
Then do
available.
and homelessness and all that.
And now, the voice you've been waiting for.
There is a secret song at the center of the world, and its sound is like razors through flesh. I'm here to turn up the volume.
I don't know what any of that means, but it sounds fucking retarded.
It's really hard to resist the urge to jump right into the latest updates and rumors concerning Iran. Because while it is being used as a distraction, that doesn't mean it's not worth paying attention to. I suppose a better word to use would be diversion. It's being used to divert our attention. This helps them to beta test and roll out the surveillance and control grid that basically amounts to the rest of the world converting to and adopting the Chinese totalitarian technocracy. They're trying to get us to emulate China in the worst possible fucking ways. That's what all the flock cameras and data centers are really about.
This is a siege. It's a goddamn siege.
It's called the social credit system, and in one version now being tested, a person's reputation is scored on a scale of 350 to 950. And Hao-Yu, with a good score of 752, is okay with it. In fact, most people are.
It's a mechanism like pushes you to become a better citizen.
It's big data meets Big Brother, expanding how the government monitors, understands, and ultimately controls its 1.4 billion citizens. Thanks to advances in artificial intelligence and facial recognition, and a web of more than 200 million surveillance cameras.
Are people bothered by privacy concerns?
We think the lot of camera keep the safety is really good. We can accept it.
Companies are experimenting with the algorithms to help the government create the new national social credit system. The government also has pilot projects. In one, citizens are required to do hours of unpaid work to get benefits. And scores are docked for things like littering, a messy yard, gossip, even jaywalking. Video of offenders is shown on the local news.
And they're building all this right under our noses and on our dime. And the excuse is, oh, well, you know, we've got to beat China in the AI arms race. But that's a lie. These data centers aren't being built to protect us from China. It's going to be aimed at corralling and controlling us, especially those of us that'll put up a fight against whatever remains of humanity being converted into a neo-feudalistic worldwide slave plantation. And people are somewhat pushing back against this shit, but not nearly as much as we need to be. It sure would be nice to, for a change, get ahead of something before it becomes an issue, instead of just reacting to whatever stimuli is thrown in front of us at any given moment, because at some point down the road, the people are going to realize that this is a huge problem for all of us. It's starting to become a problem for some people already.
Tonight, we get a little glimpse into the dystopian future. A Coloradan keeps getting pulled over because flock surveillance cameras tell police he has an active warrant. He doesn't. But he can't convince the surveillance network to leave him alone.
Chief Jason Lyon says when anyone with a warrant passes one of their flock cameras, they get an alert. But that Kyle doesn't actually have a warrant.
Nobody should be stopped when there's no legitimate law enforcement purpose for that.
Well, no shit.
Yeah, thank you for that, Captain Obvious. And the most fucking retarded part of this story is the reason why this dude apparently got wrongly flagged in the flock system to begin with.
He believes the issue is because of a 0 in Kyle's license plate number. In Colorado, license plates have both O's and zeros. And sometimes when law enforcement communicates with the DMV about a warrant, they put in a warrant for both versions, the plate with an O and then the version with a 0 as well.
Why is it this dude's problem to get it fixed? And what's he supposed to do?
Isn't that lovely? When there's a warrant on somebody with a license plate, if it happens to have a 0 or an O, both get flagged. Just so you know, they make sure they're getting their guy. But by doing that, you also guarantee that every single time, you're also going to be flagging an innocent person's plate.
The CEO may be the most dangerous hypocrite in America. He runs Flock, an AI mass surveillance company that
offers AI that can help cops locate cars and people, built on a network of over 80,000 cameras spread across 49 states in the US, as well as a new tool called Nova that brings together masses of police surveillance data into one app.
Because Flock is creating an AI surveillance state, an organization called DFlock started to track the Flock cameras that are tracking us. But look how annoyed the Flock CEO is about people tracking his cameras.
Citizens concerned about the rise of Flock and Flock cameras going up everywhere and increased surveillance everywhere.
Yeah.
There's an organization called DFlock. What do you think of that organization and the way they go about their business?
Unfortunately, there's terroristic organizations like DFlock, whose primary motivation is chaos. Flock is the best way to create a safe community.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
It's almost like this douchebag knows exactly what's inevitably going to happen at some point. Once the amount of people that understand exactly where this shit is going reaches critical mass or escape velocity, whatever you want to call it, it's apparently already happened in the UK. The only real question is how long will it be before the US gets its own version of the Blade Runners? It's actually pretty disappointing to me that it hasn't happened already.
Fuck it, I'll get this shit going.
What?
Me. I'll be the guy. I think I want to call it something besides Blade Runners, though.
Bob?
Yeah?
What's the first rule of Fight Club?
Yeah, never mind about that. I was just kidding.
But what I was saying was, I think this dick-faced Flock CEO understands that this is going to happen and is getting ahead of it by going ahead and just calling people that want to map where the cameras are terrorists. That special little legal designation that we have acquiesced into accepting that those people don't deserve to have constitutional rights. Who could have ever imagined that that power could one day be turned against us U.S. citizens?
What a bunch of fucking bullshit.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have all the answers or know exactly what we should all be doing. There is no blanket answer. Everyone is in a unique situation. I will merely say this: don't do nothing. One of my all-time favorite quotes. It's had many different iterations and paraphrasings, perhaps none quite so poignant as Tiny Lister Jr.
Stop being a bitch and come on!
No, but seriously, I am kind of partial to the full Shakespeare quote. And I'm again reminded of the Asch conformity experiment, where they had one test subject in a room with a bunch of plants, and those plants all gave the same wrong answer to a very obvious question, and the vast majority of the time, the test subject would go along with what they knew to be bullshit, most likely because of the social nature hardwired into the human brain. But something else they did was they would have one of those plants actually give the right answer, and then the rest of them would give the same wrong answer. But just the fact that there was that one person willing to say, no, I think this is the answer, their willingness to go against the majority increased by a lot. Or to put it another way, attitudes and behaviors are contagious. Cowardice is contagious, but so is courage. And so is apathy. And if we just sit back and say, well, I'm just gonna stack food and water and bullets to the rafters and try to keep a low profile, we're setting ourselves up for failure. Not that doing those things isn't important, because the fucking is inevitable. But if we can't manage the courage to stand up, make a fuss, sing it loud and sing it proud, or basically do anything, well, I'm not even gonna bother because it's not like that's gonna change the world. That's a coward's way of thinking. The little things we do, the conversations we have, even just our attitude, it all has ripple effects that you may not be aware of, but are nonetheless real. I didn't start doing this show simply to crack jokes and make light of the end of Western civilization. And I also never had any delusions that I was going to somehow make some grand impact on the world all by myself. But it felt like the world could definitely use more voices championing human liberty and anti-totalitarianism. So it didn't seem like a waste of time to do my part for that cause, and maybe, even if just in the most minuscule of ways, be of some help.
Please, help me help you.
And as far as the plan goes of where they want to take us to, there sure are enough examples of them talking about it for those that bother to pay attention.
You have a small elite that pushes things in its own interests, even if it doesn't benefit the vast majority of the population. This has happened so many times previously in history, and it's probably going to happen again. One of the biggest dangers to the planet today is this technological utopia, because probably for the elite it will work. If bad comes to worse, when the flood comes, the scientists will build a Noah's Ark for the elite, leaving the rest to drown, the rest of the people and then the rest of the ecosystem. But they are likely to be able to construct this technological Noah's Ark, which is probably what much of the elite is counting on.
This fucking asshole talks about it like he isn't one of the architects of this technological Noah's Ark and fully in on the plan to let a lot of us fucking drown and then enslave whatever's left over. And as I said before, I think the fucking is inevitable. As for how exactly it plays out, I don't think the decision's even been made yet. I think it would be a lot smarter to keep your options open and just sort of play it by ear. But I do feel confident that at some point it will include the cyber pandemic that Klaus Schwab so prophetically talked about in 2020.
We all know, but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack. To use the COVID-19 crisis as a timely opportunity to reflect on the lessons the cybersecurity community can draw and improve our preparedness for a potential cyber pandemic.
The reason why I think that this particular aspect is so inevitable is because when the dust settles and a majority of the population has been killed in the ensuing chaos, they want to have a reason to be able to reassert order and security. And they're rebuilding the infrastructure, but this time we're going to have to make it more secure, so there won't be any more free flow of ideas. And I'm really starting to think that humanity's best chance of surviving through all of this is to maximize the amount of people that survive the fucking with the knowledge of what caused it. Awareness that it was by no accident that our food, our water, our air, our minds have been poisoned. Our development as a species purposefully retarded in every way possible. And also what was taken and withheld from us.
I think the U.S. government probably has unlocked 0 point or close to 0 point energy, which would be pulling energy out of the vacuum. We have inventors that have done that over and over and over. And
making energy out of apparently nothing.
Well, we can start with, there's a man named Charles Pogue, who in the 30s tinkered with his carburetor and was able to get 200 miles a gallon. It's proven. It was engineers, investigated, scientists. It's totally proven. It worked. He was going to be a zillionaire or whatever. He's going to transform society. And the problem was, once the news of his engine got out, the oil stocks crashed. They just crashed. So the oil industry lobbied the U.S. government, we have to do something about this. And in 1951, the Invention Secrecy Act was passed. So now, if you patent any device that is more than 20% efficient, that's instantly classified. That is now a state secret. It's vital to national security. You can't talk about it. You can't build it, and you can't sell it unless you sell it to the U.S. military. You cannot do it. That went on for a while. And then there was a man named Tom Ogle, and Tom is this is the 70s now. He accidentally rewires his lawnmower engine to take the exhaust and pump it back into the carburetor. And this thing runs on a gallon of gas for 78 hours or something like that. So he reconfigures his car. It's like a 1976 Ford Galaxy, like a boat. And he's getting 200 miles to the gallon on the thing. He's offered $1 billion from an oil-producing country. Shell Oil offers him $25 million for the patent that he considers, but they're going to shelve it. So he says no. It's considered, maybe one of the biggest inventions of the century. Suddenly, Tom, without a history of drug use, stumbles out of a bar. He's drunk and he's killed. And that's the end of Tom Ogle's story. And that all disappears. All that research goes away. And this repeats over and over and over again till we get to Stanley Meyer. And you might remember Stanley Meyer and the water car, because this is the 1990s now. So now we have a vehicle that we're not even talking about fossil fuels and protecting a multi-trillion-dollar industry. We've got a car that runs on water using electrolysis, which has been around since the 1700s. But electrolysis requires a lot of energy and perfect water without impurities. But Stanley's figured out how to take tap water, put it into his car, and run his car on water. And what it does is splits the water into hydrogen, oxygen, runs on hydrogen. Hydrogen is a fuel. It works. And it works, and he drives it all over the place. It's all over the news. Engineers look at it. They say, this is the invention of the century. This changes everything. He's offered $1 billion and millions of dollars, and everyone wants his engine. And he's sitting at a Cracker Barrel with his brother and some investors, and they raise a glass to toast the new investment to go into the future. And they take their toast, and Stanley suddenly doesn't feel well. He runs outside. He starts vomiting. His brother chases after him and says, what's going on? And Stanley says, they poisoned me, and he dies. And in the medical examiner's report, it says he died of an aneurysm. But if you read the report, you can tell the medical examiner didn't really like that because he wrote some other stuff like, oh, he said he was poisoned, but toxicology doesn't really show it. But it says he died of an aneurysm. And that technology is now gone. The patent's useless because Stanley faked the numbers because he didn't trust the government, because he had another invention that most people don't know about before his water car, which was this toroid ring. A toroid is a donut. This donut-shaped ring that he invented that created energy out of nothing and levitated. But he patented it. It got and he got hit with the Secrecy Act, and they made his life miserable. But people started to learn about that. And that brings us, there are other inventors in between. Townsend Brown invents this anti-gravity technology. He runs into all kinds of bad luck. All these men have their research stolen. They're broken into. They're carrying guns. They're threatened. They're disappearing. It happens over and over and over again. I have an episode on this. It's very sad.
Yeah, they just had a run of bad luck. It's hard to even comprehend the sheer scale of innovation that has been kept from us. And at some future point, this very same shitbag system that withheld all these helpful inventions, that covered up, buried, and secretly used themselves all these inventions, to protect us from ourselves, they're going to be coming back and saying, hey, we need you to sign over the tattered remains of your freedom and your privacy so that we can restore order in the wake of the collapse that they fucking caused. And I also wanted to mention this clip of Glenn Beck I saw the other day. He was saying that we're going to be seeing some massive inflation, especially with food and electricity, but it's not going to be because of the debt and the money printing and the oil shortages. No.
And I think we're in trouble. I think right now people are like, we're in real trouble. I mean, boy, we got, we've got to heal ourselves. We're going to lose the republic. We are at the very beginning of something really unfriendly, to put it kindly, that could put America behind the eight ball so fast, and it would have nothing to do with who's president, be that Joe Biden or Donald Trump. It would have everything to do with water.
You dumb bastard.
And I'm not saying he didn't have a point when he was talking about Lake Mead and the tens of millions of people that depend on that hydroelectric power across 6 states. But he completely minimizes impact from anything else. I mean, with oil, you're not just talking about the increased cost of transporting stuff. There's also all the things that are made of petroleum and petroleum byproducts. And even the stuff that has no kind of petroleum byproducts in it, it's probably still packaged in something that's produced using petrochemicals or byproducts. Secondly, and most importantly, I would say, are we still pretending like technology doesn't exist to end this fucking drought? It was about, 2 months ago now, that nearly all the satellite arrays the U.S. had maintained in the Middle East got destroyed, and now all of a sudden, you see articles about how, the drought has broken. Some people are saying these two things could be related, but that's just crazy, right?
Right?
Right.
And I know Glenn Beck knows better. I know he knows they could end the fucking drought anytime they want, so you know what? He can go fuck himself. Sitting there pretending to be so caring. I remember back when the Bundy Ranch standoff happened and this asshole was calling them welfare ranchers.
I got something to show you, Bert.
What is it? Is it titties?
Nope, a flashbang.
And now, the weekly flashbang.
There's a lot of ways to influence the mental process. The modern techniques, the modern methods deal with what's called brain entrainment. This is the idea of creating what's called a frequency following response. This is where an external signal is generated that the brain recognizes and begins to lock onto and begins to mirror. And so you have, say, an external signal coming in at a very low frequency range that happen to be within the range of biological activity. What will happen is if you're monitoring brain activity with an EEG, for example, you can actually see the brain begin to mirror the pulse rate of these external apparatus, which then changes the chemical reactions within the brain and changes emotional state as a very simple method of changing behavior. You can do this with flickering light, electromagnetic fields, pulsed radio frequency, anything within the electromagnetic spectrum. If you can manipulate it in the very specific ranges, particularly if you can pulse it or send the energy in and more or less hammer it in. This is what HAARP does on a hemispheric scale, because what happens is a high frequency signal coming off the transmitter on the ground hits an area called the ionosphere, which is about 30 miles above the Earth's surface. And what it does is they pulse that high frequency signal. So it's like a hammer hitting the head of a nail, and every time it hits, the ionosphere vibrates like a bell, sending back a signal back to the Earth. So it literally, this instrument on the ground couples with the ionosphere, this natural field around the Earth, and then pulses energy back to the Earth in an extremely low frequency range, as an example. This would alter behavior over a pretty wide and large geographic area. Resonance is the idea of, well, let's look at a radio transmitter and radio receiver. What actually happens when a signal is transmitted? There's a resonance, a harmony between the transmitter and receiver, so that's how you actually hear radio on a mechanical device, as an example, electronic device. In terms of the human body and brain, what we found is that very complex but low energy signals are what transits our thoughts, our images, our emotional states. These are all measurable. In fact, there were 2 contracts led to the University of California by DARPA to look at this activity. In other words, to be able to look at the complex signal generation coming from a human brain, be able to map that in 3 dimensions, and then create a way to generate the same signal through complex computer programs and other forms of electromagnetic field oscillations, to be able to transfer that to another person. In other words, creating a form of what they called electronic telepathy, the idea of moving a thought literally out of one head into another, the idea of being able to send signals in for your own kinds of communication rather than using an external radio, being able to transmit directly to your troops on the ground, or conversely, to disrupt the brain activity of your adversary. And this is really where the science of mind effects has gone over the last several decades, to that kind of precision, using any electromagnetic carrier. In fact, there's a great article produced by the U.S. Army War College. It was in their quarterly perimeters back, I think it was 98, winter of 98 or 99. But the article is easy to find. It's called "The Mind Has No Firewalls," which is a reiteration of a Russian military journal talking about all the different ways. And essentially any electromagnetic carrier, whether it's the internet, television, radio, or these larger systems like HAARP, or something more directional oriented towards an individual, can alter mental states, behaviors, even planning particular thoughts or ideas within the consciousness of individuals.
Well, that sure was creepy and unsettling, but it also beautifully illustrates the other side to that technological gap that lies between what exists and what the public is allowed to know about. Because it's not just beneficial technologies that have been kept hidden, there's the technologies that have been developed and deployed as weapons. And we've only ever had a tiny peek through the keyhole at what all that entails, possibilities of which, on top of the things that we do already know exist, provides for the possibility of some seriously fucking weird times ahead. I think that more than anything else is what's behind all these disappearing scientists, as well as other people just tangentially linked to UFOs and exotic technologies. And totally coincidentally, I'm sure, this Friday there's going to be an event hosted by Stephen Greer at the National Press Club on the 25th anniversary of the 2001 event he did, where a lot of what has just become recently widely known first got introduced. And the thought has crossed my mind that some of these scientists that disappear without a trace, and they'll leave their phone and wallet and car keys behind, what if they were actually being extracted by his people? I may be wrong about this, but I could have sworn I remembered hearing him talk before about extracting people that are ready to go public in order to keep them safe. I know a lot of people have very mixed feelings about this dude, but I'm not saying I have a whole lot of confidence in this. It's just, I guess it is a possibility. And as for the latest with the war in Iran, their latest move would actually be kinda brilliant if it wasn't so fucking idiotic. On Friday, they had announced that, oh no, we don't need a war power resolution vote because with the ceasefire, we effectively ended the war before that deadline. Even though our continued blockade constitutes an act of war under international law, but never mind about that. And then the very next day they announced, on Monday we're going to be launching Project Freedom, where our military is going to help these ships stranded in the Persian Gulf to get through the Strait of Hormuz. And when I first heard about this, I'm thinking, holy fuck. Because it was being reported as if we were going to be escorting these ships through the strait. A move that would all but guarantee a bunch of our sailors getting fucking killed. But if you actually read the statement put out by CENTCOM, they never used the word escort. They said, we're going to support merchant vessels seeking to freely transit through the essential international trade corridor. And even in the post that Trump put out, he said, we will use best efforts to get their ships and crews safely out of the strait. So it doesn't sound like we're going to be sending our Navy ships through the strait risking our sailors. It sounds like instead we're just going to be telling these merchant ships, oh, just head on through the strait, it'll be fine, we got your back. Remember, we support you. And then early last night, what do you know, a merchant ship gets hit by a drone. And another one followed shortly after that. And then you started hearing rumors that one of our naval vessels got struck, which CENTCOM immediately came out and denied, but now I've been hearing that it actually might be true after all. And I got to agree with Mike Adams here. The whole point of this thing is just to get a provocation out of them. And once you have a major incident, it'll put a shit ton of pressure on Congress to just give him carte blanche to just continue this war. And it's hard to believe there are still people out there trying to act like this isn't a fucking disaster. But hey, denial is not just a river in Egypt. And what have we accomplished here? We didn't get regime change. We didn't get stability and security for the region. We didn't even get the fucking enriched uranium. But I'll tell you one thing that Trump accomplished by starting this war.
He now officially holds a place in the Guinness Book of fucking retards.
And now I'm hearing a lot of scuttlebutt saying that we will in fact have ground troops. And there's going to be a whole lot of people in for a rude fucking awakening because on-the-ground warfare has changed a lot in the past 5 years. I mean, just look at the way things have played out in the Ukraine. It's not manpower or advanced tanks that wins the battles. It's all become drone warfare. You don't even need the bigger Shahed drones. You can just use those fucking quadcopters with a little bit of plastic explosive on them. And they are devastatingly effective. So I can't wait to see how this plays out, and what fresh new hell this coming week will bring. Sláinte.
All I have in this world is my thoughts and my words, and I don't break them for no one. You understand? So say good night to the bad guy. Say good night to the bad guy. So say good night to the bad guy. So say good night to the bad guy. Come on. Come on.
fuck with me! I told you! Don't fuck with me! I told you! Don't fuck with me! You stupid fuck! Look at you now! Look at you now!
No sooner had we defeated Germany than a new threat started appearing in skies over America, drawn to Earth by the latest threat to extinction, the H-bomb. Explosions acting as transducers, drawing alien life forms through wormholes in spaceships using electrogravitic propulsion. Advanced extraterrestrial species visiting us, concerned for mankind and the threat of our self-destruction, forestalling our annihilation through their own self-sacrifice, and crashes at Roswell, more importantly, places like Aztec. World leaders signed secret memos directing scientific studies of alien technology and biochemistry. Classified studies were done at military installations S4, Groom Lake, Wright-Patterson, and Dulce. Extracting alien tissue, tests were done on unsuspecting human subjects, and elaborately staged abductions in craft using alien technology recovered from the down saucers, including human hybridization through gene editing and forced implantation of alien embryos.
Why do such a thing and lie about it? Our own government.
Your own government lies as a matter of course, as a matter of policy. The Tuskegee experiments on black men in the 30s, Henrietta Lacks.
What are they trying to do?
That's the missing piece.
But it's not hard to imagine a government hiding, hoarding alien technology for 70 years at the expense of human life and the future of the planet. Driven not only by corporate greed, but a darker objective.
The takeover of America.
And then the world itself, by any means necessary, however violent, or cruel, or efficient. By severe drought, brought on by weather wars, conducted secretly using aerial contaminants and high-altitude electromagnetic waves, in a state of perpetual war. To create problem, reaction, solution scenarios to distract, enrage, and enslave American citizens at home, with tools like the Patriot Act and the National Defense Authorization Act, which abridge the Constitution in the name of national security. The militarization of police forces in cities across the U.S., the building of prison camps by the Federal Emergency Management Agency with no stated purpose, the corporate takeover of food and agriculture, pharmaceuticals and healthcare, even the military in clandestine agendas to fatten, dull, sicken, and control a populace already consumed by consumerism.
And I encourage you all to go shopping more.
A government that taps your phone, collects your data, and monitors your whereabouts with impunity. A government preparing to use that data against you when it strikes. And the final takeover begins.
The takeover of America.
By a well-oiled and well-armed multinational group of elites that will cull, kill, and subjugate.
Happening as we sit here.
It's happening all around us.
The other shoe waiting to drop.
It'll probably start on a Friday. The banks will announce a security action necessitating their computers to go offline all weekend.
Digital money will disappear.
They can just steal your money?
Followed by the detonation of strategic electromagnetic pulse bombs to knock out major grids.
What will seem like an attack on America by terrorists or Russia.
Or a simulated alien invasion using alien replica vehicles that exist and are already in use.